Lovely complex dub writer. We made it good, cause this show sucked. Did it really? And how'd that work out for you? Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to the GNRO Minicast. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And today we have an article from Niche Gamer, who is basically taking on the dubbing of the anime Lovely Complex. This is apparently a 2007 manga that has now recently, I believe, been either dubbed or made into an anime. I'm guessing dubbed, so that people can enjoy it here in the States. But unfortunately, we are learning some very negative things in regards to the situation regarding its dub. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? I'm not normally an anime guy, but this is important as far as I'm concerned, especially in regards to a lot of the other dubbing and censoring controversies that are going on. Cough, cough, Bandai Namco, cough, cough, Jamie Markey, cough, cough. A freelancing contractor who worked on the English dub for Lovely Complex released a post boasting about his contempt for the original show and all the changes they made. In a now deleted or privated post, because of course, which thankfully was actually archived, and we actually have thanks in the article to a Twitter user by the name of Scratchpoint for being able to do that. YouTuber Brendan Blaber, or JelloApocalypse, which I actually know this guy, explained his work on the series and his thought process behind the many changes he made to the anime series Lovely Complex in the dub from Sound Cadence Studios. Firstly, Blaber was not the individual hired for the job. Instead, he was contracted by the writer and voice actor Marissa Lenti to assist them. So basically, anything that he does is not going to be looking good for one Marissa Lenti after this. And the article that in question that I'm actually reading has clips or little segments here from the post that Blaber actually did put up, or JelloApocalypse put up. So I'll also be reading those. So this is one of them. Hey all, at various points over the last 2 years, my best pal Marissa Lenti and I were working on dubbing an old anime called Lovely Complex, aka Lovecom. You might have heard us whispering quietly about some kind of project in old streams. Well, this was it. Sound Cadence CEO Amberly Connor sought to dub the show as cheaply as possible, as she's allegedly a fan of the series. So despite their open contempt for the source material, Lenti was working as the dub writer for free, and Blaber volunteered to help out. Oh, well, that's... You did such a great job for the CEO who appreciated the series, and apparently you screwed it all up. I'm sure she's very happy with you. Throughout the post, Blaber attempts to justify his censorship and changes from the source material, citing transphobic tropes, oh god, here we go, and his opinion that the main character, Risa Koizumi, is an actual psychopath and all-over useless freak. And here is the quote from the post. It is quite unprofessional to openly shit talk a property is probably what to say because it's blocked off. Shit talk property you've worked with on this industry, so why do it? And why drop trowel on it? That's a very good question. Lenti cannot express any opinions as they have an official relationship with Sound Cadence Studios, Discotech, and Toei Animation. Not anymore! I, however, was a freelancing contractor and do not have any of those things. I am not speaking for Lenti anywhere in this post. Who can say what Lenti thinks? I'm sure I don't know. I want to say you got paid, but you ultimately didn't get paid, so maybe that speaks more volumes than I think it does. But I'll tell you what I think, and I think that Lovecom is a bad show about Risa Koizumi, an actual psychopath and all-over useless freak. Wow. The biggest point of contention for the dub writers involves Seiko, a trans woman, of course, who's introduced early on in the series. Early on, Risa dislikes her, citing some vague predatory awareness that she's trans? Preternatural awareness that she's trans? Okay. Basically gaydars going off or transdars going off is what she's saying. Rather than try and maintain the original script as closely as they could, which they should have done, Blaber and Lenti went on cutting things, changing context, and otherwise altering dialogue from the original translation. He even says that you can watch the English dub with subtitles on to listen to our edits in real time. That's not... You're wearing that like a badge of honor, and that's not a badge of honor, dude. Not in the slightest. And again, we go back to the article for it, the Seiko introductory episode about Seiko's gender identity. So it's not like we could write it out entirely, but we changed a lot of things to take the edge off. So, sure you did. No, because initial dislike of Seiko was changed from, I don't know, I don't like her, my trans radar is going off, to being jealous there's another cute girl on campus and not wanting to lose out to a freshman. In the sub, Otani and Risa's end of episode reactions could generously be called confused, but they got the spirit about the whole thing. We rewrote those to be a lot more supportive of Seiko, especially Otani's dialogue, which made it pretty clear he was still kind of disgusted by her. Oh, come on. The fact that your statement is word vomit tells me that your dub was word vomit. There was even the option to acknowledge that the anime is a product of its time. It's a 2007 anime based off a manga, which ran from 2001 to 2007, not to excuse the content, but in order to preserve the series as it was for fans of the original. Instead, the changes were made by writers, and even still, they weren't transparent about it. This bragging post notwithstanding. Yeah, so it sounds to me like, just like Jamie Markey does with Dragon Maid, these people are bragging left and right that they changed this dub and how great and virtuous they are because they changed the dub. Except the CEO was a fan of it. How did she like it? That's actually something I would like to see in this article. Did she like it? Instead, Blaber exposes what the industry is doing in regards to these changes, which amounts to nothing. In fact, publishers like Discotech Media, Funimation, and Crunchyroll are allegedly encouraging localizers to do what they want as long as they don't brag about it, possibly like why Blaber hid the post or use certain buzzwords. Yeah, I've heard about this, and I've also heard a very interesting tidbit that anime anime studios are also looking into AI to start dubbing doing the subtitles for anime. And one of the reasons that's being cited is this bullshit. Is because Western localizers, whether they are overly puritanical or just plain butthurt, are changing their dubs so ridiculously in order to fit political narratives or whatever they want to, that they just don't trust us anymore. And gee, I wonder why they're doing that. I wonder why they're looking into an AI solution which will ultimately get localizers fired. I wonder why they're looking into that. It's almost like they don't have reason to trust us to be able to handle their artistic properties to the best of our ability. Huh. I wonder why. And we go back to his post. Of note, most anime distributors do tend to ask that you don't advertise changes like making things less transphobic. This is because large swaths of the anime community are racist, sexist. Oh, wow. And there you go. We're all listophobes because we have a problem with it. And will descend upon a company's social media page for weeks for the strangest things. Or because they know that your property's getting messed with and they're trying to tell you that it is. I'm not condoning mass flagging or mass writing campaigns, but it does make sense when the creators are starting to get notified by people who watch their anime, who appreciate their work, and they're basically saying, yeah, your work is getting shit on, and we don't appreciate that. Discotech added a content warning on one of their discs and got flack for that. Gee, I wonder why. So they're understandably a little skittish now. Funny Crunchy works like this too. And they're getting so much good press right now. By the way, have you bought anything digitally on Funimation.com? You're going to regret that come April. Just letting you know. TLDR, the most anime distributors don't care if you make things nicer or gay or add more representation. They just ask that you don't flaunt changes or use buzzwords. I don't even know if I agree with that TLDR, because frankly, if I'm an artist and I created something and I had a specific intent for it, and I know for a fact that you went outside of it, I'd be pissed. And I have a feeling that maybe the companies themselves aren't, but the mangaka are. And so then at that point, the mangaka, especially if they're very popular, like if Toriyama noticed that this was going on, he'd be going up to people at Shueisha and Toei and saying, no, I don't appreciate this. This is not what I'm actually going for, and would have them change it. But that's the problem, is that we're talking about an anime or a manga/anime here that it sounds to me wasn't very successful way back when. And so at that point, they don't have that power. But man, wouldn't it be great if you had somebody like, I don't know, Akira Toriyama in your corner to start screaming at these people, or maybe Eiichiro Oda. Maybe that's something that Oda-san and Toriyama-san can consider. Translation and localization discourse has taken a turn where the content of what's being removed and changed has been placed at the forefront. In a recent opinion article, we suggested that the real issue at play is that changes in censorship are happening unilaterally and without transparency, no matter how well-intentioned they may be, which they aren't well-intentioned. I'm sorry, but all of the examples that have been put out to me of recent stuff being changed in order to be able to have a political narrative or whatever, it's never been able to pan out. The only time that I've ever actually agreed with it is when the artist actually agrees with it. So for example, with Jamie Markey making the weird comparison that it's okay that she did what she did in Dragon Maid because the people who did Panty and Stocking, they were okay with it. No, that doesn't work. If the Dragon Maid people have a problem with it, then they have a problem with it. And it's a situation by situation basis. And the same thing can happen here. If we find out later that the mangaka didn't appreciate any of this, that's just going to be more fuel for the fire, especially to JelloApocalypse. So at that point, at that point, I don't care that your entire world starts burning around you, because you brought it upon yourself at that point. The centerpiece of the post is when Blaber is sarcastically frustrated that their dub is this good because he feels that anyone who picks up the show and enjoys it will only do so because of the dub. When discussing his dub in the context of the show, he says, we made it good because this show sucked. Right. Well, we're going to see how other people felt about that in a minute, but let's go back to his post. Frankly, having the dub come out this good in the end is a little frustrating. Anyone who watched this show as a kid and has fond memories of it and revisits the dub will think, wow, it's just as good as I remembered. No, it isn't. We made it good. This show sucked. Right. Yeah, this is going to work out so well for you. In fact, I can already tell you, JelloApocalypse, how well it worked out for you. The English dub for Lovely Complex is published by Discotek Media, who was actually suffering a bit of a firestorm because of this. It's unclear what role Lenti played in the changes made for the show's content, but at the very least, it appears they were permissive of the changes made by Blaber. I have a feeling that the power that she has within Discotek is going to significantly change, because I have an update on this particular one, which is from one Justin Savakis, which is actually putting out a response from Discotek Media in regards to this. So let's go ahead and read, shall we? We are aware of the comments made by a contractor that worked on Lovely Complex. The English version was made with the supervision and approval of the show's original producers. Okay, so they were approving it. Dubs commonly punch up comedy and smooth over rough patches so that the end product aligns with the show's intended audience and provokes the intended response. And there will always be shades of gray when adapting a work. Anyone expecting exact fealty to the Japanese dialogue should be watching the subtitles, because that's the closest that you're going to get in that regard, which Discotek has always presented with as little alteration as is possible when translating from a different language. So basically what they're saying is, if you don't like the changes that they've made, watch the subtitles, because that's the way it's intended. We are deeply disappointed at this individual's lack of professional discretion and will not be working with him in the future. Oh, oof. You didn't even get paid for this shit, and they still cut your ass off, Jello. Good on you, buddy. And something tells me that Marissa Lenti is also suffering some consequences and backlash from this, probably even from the CEO of Sound Cadence Studios, who is a fan, and probably not getting as many jobs anymore. I would probably dare to assess. We will continue to work on future projects with an eye towards satisfying as many fans as possible. Thank you for your continued support. In other words, JelloApocalypse, enjoy the bread line, because something tells me that this is now a black mark on your resume, and anytime you apply to do any kind of localizing or anything like that, you are immediately going to get looked at and go, well, we saw this whole thing with Discotech. How'd that turn out for you? Oh, you think you're going to get a job? Not so much anymore now. And thank you to Justin Savakis for translating that and putting that out there. I think we very much appreciate that. So my thoughts on the matter are, this is yet another example of overreach and too much power being in the hands of localizers and also for censors and things like that, when in reality, this is basically a bunch of, and it would not surprise me in JelloApocalypse's case. I've watched a few of his videos, especially in regards to this. This dude's a fan fiction writer. That's what he is. Bottom line, like he started up with a presence on Tumblr. He went to YouTube. He went to all these other places. And guess what? His videos aren't all that entertaining. Gee, I wonder why. Because he's a fan fiction writer. And he got a job. He got a golden ticket handed to him, to which he basically promptly decided to drop trowel and drop a ginormous turd on it. Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Because you pretty much guarantee that you're not going to be able to get a job like that anymore, especially now that Japanese companies are looking into things like not AI dubbing, but AI subtitle generation. And the only thing I feel bad about is that assholes like this are basically making sure that when you have that dedicated localizer who is doing their job to the best of their ability, that they're going to get cut because this asshole decided to go flaunt their dick around. In fact, this might be an unpopular opinion, but if this guy even remotely goes to the unemployment line in regards to this, I honestly believe that the unemployment people should take his check and move it over to the other employees he screwed. I'm glad that you got fired, and I hope that more people like you get fired, and that more localizers who are more dedicated to the work and making sure that the work is what it is intended. Those are the people that should be getting promoted in these companies. Those are the people that should be getting additional jobs and additional works, etc., for their resumes, because they're the ones that are actually doing the hard work. But that's going to go ahead and do it for me. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching this video. If you have an opinion of your own on this, feel free to leave a comment down below. I would very much appreciate that. You can also leave a like on the video if you're brand spanking new, and consider subscribing to my channel, as I do actually put a lot of work into these videos and into future videos as they come along. So it definitely helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and all that. And thanks so much to Niche Gamer for this article, as well as to Justin Savakis for the update. I definitely appreciate those. And we will see you guys next time for the next GNRO Minicast. Take care.